Right, I got asked it on my rheumatoid arthritis interstitial lung disease. It's such a mouthful, isn't it? I wish I could shorten it. But obviously I want to reach as many people who have got the problem or have heard of the problem and think it might be a problem for them. I want them to all come to us, and join together. I think we're so much better when we're together as a unit and we're supporting each other, because it's so hard to have anyone around you that really understands what you're going through with this disease. Rheumatoid arthritis is really hard to cope with, really hard to live with. I thought it was awful before I got the lung disease side of things, or like before I got diagnosed. But once you can't breathe and you know that you're dying from this, and even worse, you know you're dying and people don't even understand that you're dying, because it's not cancer, it's not something that people hear about all the time. So people don't understand that you're going through that, and that you don't get support like you really do need. Like a cancer patient would get support, we don't. So I brought the page about because I thought we all needed to come together and support each other. I found some amazing people in this group. It really has, it's changed my world. I've got people that I consider like my best friends from this group, and people who really truly understand how it feels. It's so special, so special. So if you are struggling at all, please do join us. Margot from the group asked, what are your options regarding medicines and treatments? Is it better to take medications before any physical symptoms or after? Well, Margot, our options regarding rheumatoid disease, we have quite a lot of options now. There are options. There's tablet form medications called, there's always cat hair everywhere. We have rheumatoid medications like DMARDs, like methotrexate, sulfasalazine, hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil. They're the old-fashioned, bog-standard rheumatoid arthritis treatments, and with a lot of patients they really benefit them. Some patients only need the tablet forms, and others need to combine them with another form of medication called biologics. Some are called like infusions, where you have it pumped into your veins. Some are injectables, where you inject it into your stomach or legs. There are a lot of options for RA patients. When you're an RA interstitial lung disease patient, your options go whoom. We have so limited options, and I know like it's really hard to talk about this disease without being morbid and morose, because the fact is we haven't got any options really. They haven't really found anything that makes a difference to our disease. They can maybe slow it down a little, but even then it's so unpredictable, what with the infections that we get and that, literally it's usually infections that are our problem, and they kick in and take over so quickly, especially if we are on immune suppressants. We're even more prone to those infections. Our lungs are so damaged that it's like going, come here germs, come here, I want you. Do you know what I mean? Literally it's like that. It's like your own body is destroying you, and it's not just about pain anymore, is it? It's about not being able to breathe. And we have this rituximab, which I've just spoken about. Now rituximab is now being honoured as like the new thing in ILD. It's like, it's supposed to be helping people. It's supposed to be putting a halt on the disease in some cases, or certainly slowing it down in a lot of cases. I have also read studies, I've read lots of studies. I've read studies that say about rituximab causing lung problems. So, and I myself was hospitalised on rituximab with a major bout of pneumonia and sepsis and everything. But now they're saying that probably would have happened anyway. So, rituximab is the shining lighting out in our future at the moment. Of course, there's the options of transplant in future, when we get to the very worst of our disease. I don't know, from what I see on the pages and that, a lot of people aren't even spoken to about transplants. I have seen a few that have had transplants and are doing very well. I haven't seen many. It seems like as if they don't really want to give us transplants. I know that when I was it first came up on my CT scan, and they talked about doing a biopsy, and they were like, no, you won't survive a biopsy, you won't survive a surgery. So I was like, well, can't we try? But then at the same time, okay, right. But now I've lost a lot of weight since then, and I've not got high blood pressure now. So I wonder if that would make a difference. I don't know. But I haven't been spoken to about transplants, apart from knowing that it is the only real option with us. It's sort of the only thing to be done to save us in any way. The other option is the mycophenolate, which is an old-fashioned medicine in pulmonary disease, and it's used as kind of like a DMARD, but it's actually an anti-rejection drug for transplants. I don't understand how it works. I haven't researched it enough, to be honest. I have got a booklet about it here. Let me get my booklet out and we'll read a bit about that, because it's one that's important to know for you guys. It's used in the treatment of scleroderma and lupus, and I assume it would probably be used in sarcoidosis as well. Mycophenolate should effectively treat your condition and stop it causing damage to your joints. It has been tested and has helped many people. However, as with all drugs, some people will have side effects. Mycophenolate is a disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drug, so it's a DMARD like methotrexate, sulfasalazine and all that. Its full name is mycophenolate mofetil. DMARDs dampen down the underlying disease process rather than simply treat the symptoms. They reduce the activity of the body's defence system, immune system, which may be overactive in some inflammatory conditions. Mycophenolate is used mainly to treat several different types of rheumatic conditions, including lupus and other rare connective tissue disorders, including scleroderma, diseases in which there is inflammation of blood vessels, for example vasculitis. Mycophenolate may also be used after organ transplantation, for example in kidney transplants. This is to help stop the body rejecting the new organ. Mycophenolate doesn't work immediately. It may be up to 3 months before you notice any benefit. It's given as a tablet or capsule depending on the dose required, and it's usually taken twice a day with food or water. They should be swallowed whole and not crushed or chewed. Your doctor will advise you about the correct dose. Higher doses are usually taken as tablets rather than capsules. Unless you have severe side effects, it's important to keep taking mycophenolate, even if it doesn't seem to be working at first, even when your symptoms improve, as it will help to keep the disease under control. Possible risks and side effects of mycophenolate. The most common side effects of mycophenolate are nausea, feeling sick, diarrhea, vomiting or stomach pain. Mycophenolate can also affect your blood count. One of the effects is that fewer blood cells are made and can make you more likely to develop infections. You should tell your doctor or rheumatology nurse specialist straight away if you develop any of the following after starting mycophenolate. If you develop a sore throat, a fever, any other symptoms of infection, unexplained bruising or bleeding, any other new symptoms or anything else that concerns you. If any of these symptoms listed above are severe, you should stop taking mycophenolate and see your doctor immediately. Generally, however, it's best to talk to your doctor before stopping or reducing mycophenolate. You should also see your doctor if you develop chickenpox or shingles or come into contact with someone who has. They can become severe on mycophenolate and you need antiviral treatment. Although it's uncommon, it's a slightly increased risk of types of cancer, which we know that comes along with most of them, mostly skin cancer being a problem. It can affect the blood count and can sometimes cause liver or kidney problems. Your doctors will arrange blood tests for that. It doesn't really say, like, it says it's recommended to have, annual flu and pneumonia vaccine on it. So those are the two main choices in medication for us. I hope that helps. And yes, always, if there's signs or there's blood tests that reveal RA in a person. I think medication should be started as soon as possible. I believe totally that I had RA from youth, and it was just ignored all that way through. And then when they finally found out what it was because it was like, it hit me really like a ton of bricks. It was really awful, extreme onset. But like, I think I had it in its more minor form all along. Now, I think if I'd have been treated when I first started going with sore knees and hands, when I was like 20, then I think if I had had treatment, then I don't think I'd be as ill as I am now. I don't think I'd be dying from this disease. I think probably I'd be able to be living a normal life on, hopefully, a medication, because it's took so long to get a medication working at all. You know, if I'd have got treated and gone through all of that when I was younger, I'd have probably been stronger to cope with it, and also I'd have probably been, it'd have probably controlled the disease before it started killing me, you know. Like, it's been damaging my lungs all along. So anyway, I think, yeah, if you can get on medication, I think it should. And it is known within rheumatology that is like, treat hard and fast to try and stop the damage. And the thing is they only say about the damage to your joints at that point, and I actually haven't got any permanent damage to my joints yet. There's no malformation of my joints yet, but all that while it's been damaging my lungs enough to have me nearly dying, you know. Craziness. Mary asked about life expectancy, particularly when diagnosed in the 20s, and I'm so sorry. That's just absolutely, I know that I've spoken to members that are very young, and it's just so upsetting. I really, like, it's hard enough for me, and I'm 41, and I think I'm far too young for dying and for having like such a severe disease that I'm housebound, and you know, my kids are having to go through hell for it all. Now, imagine that, being young. I feel so bad for you guys. I'm so sorry that you're going through this so young. You shouldn't have to be facing this at all. Life expectancy. Oh, and you asked about recommendations to prevent progression. Well, I've already discussed the recommended medications. There's the two. And really, like, I mean, they do say that any medication, if it's helping the RA, should effectively be helping the lungs. But in effect, in the last year, my RA and my joints have seemed okay and quite, like, manageable from methotrexate, but it's been attacking my lungs. So really, you need the ones that are going to help the lungs, and you've got to put the lungs first. I think they do come before anything else, don't they? Because it's, you know, breathing. Can't get much more basic, can we? That's all we want to do, is be able to breathe. Now, life expectancy when diagnosed in the 20s, life expectancy is so hard on this subject, right? Our average life expectancy, as in taking all of the patients that have ever been diagnosed with ILD and how long they had it before dying, how long they were diagnosed before dying, average is 3.5 to 5 years. Now, that's really scary, really awful, it's like shocking, very, very shocking. But there are a lot of issues that affect that severely enough that we can sort of brush it aside a bit. Like, I've spoken to people who are alive 10 years in, I've spoken to people who are alive 20 years in, and doing well. I think, yeah, it is such an individual thing for a start. Yeah, in my case, I get like ups and downs, and each time I come down, I get worse down, and I don't get back up to where I was before. And the thing is that on those downs, like when I get infections and sepsis, it can take you like that with the infections and sepsis. That's the problem, is that a lot of us die sort of very quickly and suddenly. Certainly a lot of that percentage, like it's taken from, there's a lot of people that get diagnosed, I can't remember the exact percent, so I'm not going to sit and quote it. I have posted things about it on the page before, but a lot of those people are dying and then being diagnosed post-mortem, like, yes, they had RAILD and that's why they died, but they weren't diagnosed before dying. And that is why it's such a short period, because a lot die and then get diagnosed with it, so it's sort of like an instant thing, and that goes in and pulls down that average quite a lot. Like I say, for us, our biggest issue is infections. You've got to avoid the infections as big as you can, and look after yourself and go in when you need to, because really you could have had it for a month. You could have found out a month ago and you'll die because of an infection. You could have found out 10 years ago and seemingly be perfectly healthy and doing really well, and then go bang and go so far downhill that you never come back up. That is how complicated this disease is. It's different for everyone. In general, what I have seen has been quite a lot of the same as me. We get the diagnosis. Like, I knew about it back in 2016 because I saw it on a CT scan report, but my doctor didn't agree till 2018. Now, so technically I've had it for 3 years, which kind of scares me a bit, you know. But then by diagnosis stage, I've actually only had it since the doctor finally put it down as definitely that. Like, it had always been a question mark on my diagnoses, but it hadn't been put down as definitely that. So, how long have I really had it? And how long does that go down in the statistics, you know? I believe having hope, trying to look after yourself as best you can. There's obvious things, you know, look after your diet, try and keep as active as you possibly can. If you are housebound like me, regularly mobilise your joints. Like, I roll my joints continuously. Try and be as active as you can around the house. Try and do things that make you happy. I know it sounds cliche, but honest to God, if you're happy, if you can put a smile on your face, if you can laugh at everything, you'll cope a lot better with this. And I think it does give you strength to survive for longer, you know. Like, when I was very scared by it and very like new to it, I was petrified and I was in a very dark place, and I really thought I'm going to die straight away. I really was. At first I was really scared of that, and then, you know, as time's gone on and I've got used to the idea, like, don't get me wrong, I'm still bloody scared. Like, I know what's coming. I know how much worse it's going to get. And I don't really, like, it's more than I don't want to go through it. It's more that I don't want my family watching me go through it either, you know. But I mean, I'm lucky I'm still not even on oxygen yet, although I think maybe sometimes I should be. But each case, like, it depends on, if you've got it in your 20s, how bad is it, how quickly has it progressed as well, because, like, I had, like, in 2017 or something, 2016, 2017, at one point my lung CT scan was looking really good, and that was when I was on the rituximab, but we didn't know that it was having that effect. So it was looking really good then, and I was surprised at how much better it had looked. And now it looks worse than it was before that. Like, it's so up and down, you really can't give a time span on it. And unfortunately, like, a lot of people don't want to talk about it as well, which makes it really hard, doesn't it? Like, nobody wants to say you're dying. If I talk to my friends or my children, like, obviously my older son, he's my carer and that, but he shuts me down the minute that I open my mouth about dying. He's like, no, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. My best friend's the same, don't talk about it. No, you're never going to die. I love them to pieces for not wanting it, but it's very hard, isn't it, when you can't even open up about it because it upsets other people as well. And the fact is that we are dying, and that's really hard to come to terms with, and it's not the same as it is for a lot of people out there that are dying, like cancer patients, you know. There's a lot more support and charitable things out there that are built to make these people's exit of the world a better experience, I think. Like the Macmillans, you know, there's amazing things out there, and I'm not discrediting that in any sense, but we don't get that. You know, we basically are left in the pile. We're the hidden few. Not even RA patients want to admit that we exist, because then they have to admit that it might happen to them. Okay, so I hope that helps somewhat with your question. I'm sorry that I can't give a what's your expectancy, life expectancy, but looking after yourself will be good. Go into hospital when you need to. I hold back all the time, and it's the worst thing I could do, because I end up at the point of nearly dying before I get in there. You don't want to do that. If you want to keep your long life as long as possible, bless your heart. I don't know if you've got children or whatever. I can't remember. I think I have spoken to you in the past, but I can't remember. If you've got children, that's got to be really hard, because I know how hard it is for me watching my children. So God bless you, and much love to you. MSP Vincent agrees with Mary, so she wanted to know all those things, and touch on sarcoidosis, which I have done. Mary, I hope you understand that I don't know a great deal about sarcoidosis, apart from that it's very, very similar to rheumatoid with lung disease, very similar. So, and it's about, like, you get hardness, don't you? I think, is it scar tissue? And it's much more likely to develop the ILD as well, isn't it? Yours flares up in the spring with the snow mould and the dust in the streets. I wanted to discuss the seasons, actually, how the seasons affect us. Like, for me, it used to be worst in the winter season, like autumn to winter flu season, you know. Like, bearing in mind, right, this is the difficult thing. I'm in the UK. Now, a lot of people out there on my page are in America, or all over the world, actually. Now, if you're from America, you've got a whole nother side of things that I don't have to deal with as much. Like, you've got a whole different weather concept, depending on where you come from in America, of course, or Canada. But you're dealing with, like, in, say, Texas, major humidity. I don't know how that affects some. I think some people find the heat very beneficial, but then some people must struggle in the humidity, because I struggle in the humidity in this country. And I know how much more severe it is, like in Texas. But then there's other areas, like in Canada, where you've got the cold all the time. And I assume the flu season probably lasts longer in Canada, like as it is over winter here. I don't know. All of those things must affect everyone differently. For me personally, like, I never used to get any hay fever symptoms. And then this year and last year, I've been struggling in the spring as well, and it seems to be hay fever. I don't know for sure, but I think it's hay fever that's sort of triggering my breathing to be really bad. I've really been struggling lately with my breathing. But my oxygen level doesn't seem too bad most of the time. I don't get that, because I've always had bad oxygen levels. And I used to sort of like be like, oh, I'm alright at 88, you know what I mean, I'll be alright. Now I'm like at 98. And I haven't had 98 for ages. Anyway, I'm at 98, but I feel like I can't breathe really badly, like to the point where I've had panics, where I've gone like, I need to go, and then I check my oxygen. I'm like, should I don't know, should I worry or not? Anyway, onwards. So yeah, I imagine the mould and dust. I've had a leak in my bathroom. I think the mould from that's affecting me. This house is falling apart. I'm hoping for a move soon. That was another thing I was meant to update. I put a bid on a house, and it was with the support of my local MP for Lib Dems. So I'm really hopeful, because he's like got on the case and trying to help me. And it's like, I sound like I've needed help for so long, but I hate asking for help. My mum wrote to him and asked for help, and he's jumped on board to help me. Love him to pieces. I've loved him for years anyway. I've always voted for him. So fingers crossed, guys, I could really use the move into a house that's going to have like the ability to put in the wet room and the through floor lift or whatever. I need that desperately. I think it'll make the difference to keeping me alive for a couple more years, you know what I mean? I'd really like to, I'd like to last as long as possible. So yeah, that's another point. Now, my son said to me that he feels like I'm always worse in the summer. And I must admit, I do struggle in the heat a lot. And I also find, like, that in the 2016 hospitalisation, that was in July. So, yeah, lately, a lot, like, as this has developed, it's become that it used to be just one season. Now there's problems in all of them. So that's the problem, you see. Like, and also some people get affected by different things. Like, I've got 9 cats. Some people with lung disease could walk into this house and not be able to breathe. I'm fine with the cats, but I'm not good with mould or dust or infections, viruses, pretty much anything like that. I'll get ill so quickly. Yeah, so I'd love to know down below if any of you guys are here from the group, or if you just joined me because you are interested in the disease. Let me know down below, how do the climates where you are affect you? What seasons affect you the worst? You know, do you have hay fever problems, or is it in the winter problems? I'd like to know how it affects all of us differently. Phil has said, what is our life expectancy? He was diagnosed in 2011. Now, again, I've already spoken about life expectancy. Now, you've been diagnosed in 2011. You're doing quite well, really, aren't you, considering that it's supposed to be 3.5 to 5 years. So, yeah, there's a positive note, you see. Every time I see someone that's survived longer than the average expectancy, it gives a positive hope that, you know, just because there's this average life expectancy doesn't mean we should all sit waiting to die. You know, we should go about pursuing living instead of waiting to die. I am scared of dying, and I am scared of leaving my children, but I don't think that I should live every moment of every day worrying about that. It's not going to help me. In fact, it will make it much worse. I do everything I can to keep calm. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to any lung patient. Learn to control emotion, because emotion is one of the biggest triggers you can get. So I hope that helps, Phil. I think I know you, Phil. I've watched you over the last year or so. You're a fighter. You're a warrior. I know that, you know, it's a struggle. But I think you're not going anywhere just yet, are you, mate? We're going to fight this, you know, we're going to keep fighting together. And for those like Michelle who feel alone in the world, we'll be there for each other, because that's what we do. And it makes it that our experience doesn't go in vain, because we've supported each other. I've had people tell me that I've really helped them get through the initial diagnosis and that. And that really makes me happy to know that my experience has been put to some good use, rather than it being just a negative, you know. But yeah, average life expectancy, statistics wise, is 3.5 to 5 years. But I've known people, I've spoken to people that are 20 years in and living a good life as well, not even on oxygen. Craziness. Like, for me, I seem to be going downhill quite fast compared to that. And I think that is the sort of bog standard. But if you've got to 8-9 years, good on you, keep going. Why not? Mike, you raised medications to slow down or stop progression, and as I've already said, but all RA meds are going to help in some way. If it can control the immune reaction that's causing the scarring in your lungs, then it's a good thing. But mostly, like mycophenolate, it's used in this situation, but they're not really sure what it does, to be honest. They're not sure what it does, but they know that it sort of seems to not really halt it, but slow it down a little bit. Up until recently, that was the only option. until transplant. Or what's the other thing where they scrape out your lungs? That can work, that can help as well. But then a lot of people in our situation won't survive surgery, so they won't even offer those things, you know. The rituximab is the new big thing. I have put up some documents about rituximab. I will put up some more. It is vitally important that if you're going to go on that drug, you read up about it. It's a serious drug. It's an infusion. It's going into your veins. It lasts for 6 months, so you can't stop taking it if it has a bad effect. It's in you for 6 months. So it is a serious one to think about, but it's our only real option. So if you're put in that position of being offered it, it's probably wise to try it, I think. Sorry if that's not great information for you, because I'm not a doctor, but like in my experience, what I've researched, that it's a catch-22, but then also I've seen that, yeah, my lungs were better on it, and they're not while I'm not on it. So I'm going to give it another go, and I'll update everyone. Let's hope, because if it helps me, and I hope to God it does, then I hope to God that it can help all of you as well. You never know, maybe one day they can find something that will actually stop this disease, because that's the problem, isn't it? Is they haven't found anything that's even close to a cure or to controlling the disease properly. The ILD side of things. Cup's too big for me, it's too heavy. And oops. So that's about that for that side of things. And then we go on to, Phil also raised in the group about living alone or feeling alone, and I wanted to talk about that. I saw some comments going on with people who are struggling with unsupportive families. I've seen and had myself people suggest that I should go and get a job, my son should go and get a real job. You know, like seriously? Like, I see other people being forced into going and getting jobs with this disease. Or would they do that to a cancer patient? I don't think they would they? I don't know. But it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if we can't even get our own bra on without running out of breath, then I think we're not able to go and get a job. And if I need my son to care for me, it's not what I wanted in my life. I'd love to be working. I'd love to have a normal life. I'd love my son to have a normal life, and all my children to have a normal life and a normal mum. So, like, people, please understand this. This isn't what we want. Don't ever take a disabled person, especially one whose life is in their hands. You know, we are at a point where we have no options and we are struggling just to survive every single day. Do not ever tell us to go and get a job, or that we could do better if we just change our diet. We could cure our disease if we took this. Leave us alone. Don't say anything, right? Because it's not helpful. It doesn't help at all, right? What my carer does for me when I am at my worst, like this year, has been pretty good, because I've not been so bad. So I've let up on how much stress he had to deal with, because he was also at breaking point this year. Yeah, what he does when I need him, no one else does. So don't ever disrespect a carer that does a proper, like, does really care for someone that's going through this sort of disease. And don't ever disrespect this sort of disease and what it's like living with it, because you have no idea what it's like not to be able to breathe. And I don't understand how people can be so callous. Now, Michelle was saying about not feeling supported within her own family, that being blamed for her own disease and being blamed for how it's affected her family's life. And that is just so sad. And I'm really sorry, Michelle. And if you need support, if you need someone to talk to, please come and talk to me, come and talk to us in the group. We love you to pieces. I'll bleep that out now. I won't put that. Right, just don't. They will regret their actions and behaviours towards you. in the future, what you need to concern yourself with is looking after yourself if no one else is going to do it for you. I'm glad you've got a sister that loves you dearly and understands. But please know that we are here for you. That is the whole point of the group. That is exactly what I wanted to be. I wanted to know that other people going through this didn't have to go through it alone, because I've got 2 children living in the house, 2 teenage children living in the house. When I first got sick, I had 4 living in the house. Now it's 2. I barely ever see them. Even, like, they're in the house, but they'll be upstairs on their computers doing their thing. They barely interact with me unless they're hungry. I am pretty much alone. I have been pretty much alone. I'm single, so I've not had anyone to support me or help me through physically, and that's why it's fallen on my son's shoulders to help. Sorry for always looking over here. It's because I'm looking at myself. But yeah, it's just so upsetting when people suggest that someone who's seriously ill and suffering should go and get a job, or like get up off their arse and get on with it and pull your socks up and all those things. It's just awful that people have to actually go through that, and I know that they do because I've been through it myself. Please remember, when you're talking to someone who's going through enough already, try and put yourself in their position. Try and think what it would feel like if you had disease in your joints and at the same time you can't even breathe and you're facing a death penalty. It just blows my mind the way people can be so insensitive and unkind. So if you need a little bit of sensitivity and kindness and understanding, especially about living with this disease, then please do come have a chat, have a talk with us, and you'll get some love and affection. My son basically stopped his whole normal existence when I got sick. At 16 years old, he gave up, he stopped college, he stopped hanging out with his mates, doing all the things that they were doing all the time. He was like, he basically just stayed at home, and immediately had to take on like me going into hospital and looking after the kids and the house. You know, that's a lot of responsibility for a 16-year-old, isn't it? Yeah, and over the years it's built up and built up. Like, he's the one that listens to me about everything, so he has to deal with what I'm really going through, and I know that he finds it really hard, bless his heart. So I think a little bit of credit where it's due doesn't hurt, does it? Anyway, I hope this has helped. I hope it's been a decent update on everything that's going on. I've got more to come. Obviously, I'm going to start on the rituximab. It's all seeming like a very long, slow, drawn-out process at the moment. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. Much love. Breathe easy, folks. I'll see you again soon. Bye.